Hey everyone, well, I'm back on board. So after Christmas and everything else that goes on, I have a birthday this week. It just seems full on until my birthday is done. But I had some family over last week, so I enjoyed a few days with them. Back to uni, of course, so my uni holidays finished as well. So back on board. Feeling really good about this year. Hopefully, it's a fantastic year for all of you. Um, Okay, so before we go any further, I just want to say a big thank you, especially to the people who followed me for a long time, and for those of you who message me quite regularly. Thank you for all your support. I know I do thank everybody every day, but I don't think you really understand how much I appreciate you. So I want to sort of make sure that 2023 goes out. Maybe it was a bit of a tough year, maybe it was a sort of recovery year, but um, hopefully for everyone this year is just as rewarding for you as what it's been for me. All right. Um, I will be doing the Virgo reading today. I also want to try and see if I can get on and do um, some readings for the membership group. So I'm going to focus on you a little bit more this week, and maybe do some combinations of cards this morning. And maybe do a reading for all the members this week as well. All right, we are using the Ethereal Tarot for your reading. Sometimes people ask me, I say it's the one that's really gold embossed. Look at that, and I got the sun straight out. Very nice. All right. Oh, if you would like a personal reading with me, just email me at theaussiegoddess@gmail.com. I'm still trying to sort of get my website up and running again, but a couple of things have become complicated, so I've got to work through those. The Nine of Wands is coming round. So I feel with the Nine of Wands, it's always the card that it's a card of the wounded warrior, but it's always the card for me that talks about cycles. It sometimes means we're repeating some sort of pattern, but we're not understanding. Now, my feelings with patterns is we don't always understand them because we're not ready. So sometimes we might have to do something many times before we really get it. And if you hear someone say to you, oh, that always happens to me, that is because you're not getting the cycle. So if you find yourself saying that, then maybe you need to have a look at how you're doing something and see how you could do it differently in future. Now, sometimes these patterns are quite embedded. They may come from childhood. They may come from patterns where we haven't really understood that we've created a pattern. For some of us, I know particularly around things like self-esteem and confidence, there are core beliefs we have that really influence how we see ourselves as people. And sometimes when we're sort of very empathic or very sensitive, or what they call a sensitive, you're a sensitive person, sometimes those things leave us with a very thin skin. So we become very sensitive to personal comments or things that have happened to us. You know, it can take sometimes somebody saying something to you that is not true, and you will still investigate. You will still go through the mind things of, why it is that way. People are cruel. Sometimes, obviously, people do it deliberately if they've got a narcissistic personality. But to me, this card is sort of saying that this is the tail end of something. This is something perhaps you're seeing differently for the first time. You're moving here from the 9 to the 10. Which makes me feel like here you're really starting to understand whatever it is within yourself, that it's all, you can work with all of that. What you've got to remember is about the internal, not the external. So that sort of sounds a little bit like it can't be an external factor, but it can. But the sort of feelings that you're creating and the way you respond to things and the way you understand things are all internal. So some people seem to be so incredibly strong, right? So, I have a couple of friends who seem to sort of, let things just sort of wash over them so easily. And I sit and think that is, I don't know, maybe they're not underneath, maybe they just not don't talk about it. But some people seem to be so incredibly resilient. And for others of us, we have to really work hard at that resilience to understand how to make it work in our favour. But if you're starting from a place where you've really struggled with your confidence or your self-esteem, then that can make it a little bit more difficult for you. So behind that, I have the Queen of Pentacles. So I'm really feeling the Queen of Pentacles to me is a card that represents the Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo people. But as an energy, she's very, very grounded and very in touch with nature, in touch with herself. But she's also quite focused on her own resources. So if I'm talking to you about this and it is a situation where as a partner or a mother or even somebody in the workplace where you're doing something, or, you know, it may be especially with this card where you're repeating a workplace thing. And sometimes, you know, we think, oh, well, we'll just get rid of that workplace and move on. But we're not really understanding that perhaps some of that toxicity is within us and we need to sort of work on that before we move on. It's very easy for us to blame external circumstances, and quite rightly so. A lot of the time they are what needs to be blamed. But how you respond, how you build your own resilience, how you build your own character are all important there, because other people may not get treated that way, which means the people who are treating you that way know that you're going to be hurt or offended. Why do people do that? Number one, jealousy. Nearly always jealousy. People see you as a threat, especially some, you know, a lot of that narcissistic personality might be that you're extremely capable, but you're the only person who doesn't think you're extremely capable. But it's sort of much more healing to see that you could change something within yourself rather than keep changing your environment. I'm not really sure why that energy is coming through. All right, we have the Six of Pentacles coming through with the Strength card. See, it's all there. The Six of Pentacles in relation to something that I'm talking about would mean that perhaps you're in a situation where you're investing everything you have. And if you're, you know, a really loving person, a really caring person, when the other person doesn't respond or is cruel or treats you poorly, your number one thing is to give them more. So we explain ourselves to them. Or we try to validate ourselves to people. But in reality, that doesn't work. Those people don't really care and they're not listening. So, you know, what you have to do is you have to understand if you feel at work, you know, you're doing 10 times your own workload, then the person next door is not doing anything, but yet they call you on things that you do, then you have to be the observer there and see what's really happening for its truth. Because what can start to happen is we can start to become really strung out, thinking that nobody's noticing what we do. And some of those people will actually take credit or gratitude for things you've done. But the trick is here not to see yourself to blame or not to see yourself as being the reason why people do that. But you do need to see yourself as stronger, more resilient, and more able to understand. You don't have to explain yourself. You do not have to try and validate yourself to other people. It is a mechanism that we use to protect ourselves, but it's not really helpful. So if somebody's calling you names, trying to express yourself in why that name doesn't apply to you or why you are a different person is really not going to matter to the person who's giving you a hard time. There's a lot of healing here. We do have the Nine of Swords, so something in the Tower. I like it. Right, okay. You are about to turn something around, people. You are moving from the Queen to the King. And what that says to me is there is something that you are understanding within yourself that you've not seen before. So it may be that it's just an epiphany moment, but you're understanding how to get out of your feminine aspect and into your masculine aspect to really understand how to protect yourself. Now, this doesn't mean you go being, because anger, outbursts, all those sort of things will not serve you here, but standing in your own power will. So if you've been putting up with something for a really long time, I feel like you're going to understand how to step back, observe, and see what you've been doing up until now that has created an energy for you that you need to, well, maybe you need to just bring it in, rein it in, and become the person that you are meant to be. Because you're taking a step up in your power. This doesn't mean you're taking a step up from feminine to masculine, but you're understanding when each of those serves you much more. It just means learning to be assertive, for example, and assertiveness is not aggressiveness. It's sort of that energy of, I'm not going to be treated this way anymore. And how do I put myself at the forefront of those situations without coming across as aggressive? Because remember, the person that's giving you a hard time or the situation you're in is looking for you to respond in that way. They're looking for you to get angry. They're looking for you to get upset. Why? Because they feel that makes them more respected or more loved. Complicated stuff, but I feel like you're finally understanding how to do it. All right, so we have the Two of Cups coming through with the Three of Wands, the Ten of Wands. There it is, right there. You see, 9 to the 10, and the Six of Swords. So this is about closing out a cycle and moving forward. Absolutely. I feel that here with that Three of Wands, there's a couple of energies coming through here. This could be in a relationship for you. Could also be in a partnership, but this may be a lot of partnerships that you're encountering at the moment that you're starting to think this person is difficult for me in some way, shape or form, or you're going round in circles with it. Now, for example, if you have a family situation, every Christmas you could get together for a family do, and every year there's someone who wants to ruin it for you in some way, shape or form. They can be a family member. So what starts to happen is you start to think, I don't want to be around this person anymore, but they're family. You know, if I'm not around them, then how can I be with my family? And there seems to be an energy of how do I manage this going forward? So if you don't heal the pattern, the universe they send you the next person to say, well, you haven't really healed this pattern. You may have walked away or turned your back on it, but you haven't really sorted it for yourself. So what happens? Another person will step in and take their place. I see this around in the global sphere, where somebody is knocked off their pedestal and the next person who steps up is exactly the same as the one before with a different face. So I feel like somehow or another you're starting to see the pattern. You're starting to understand that perhaps it does start with you. You don't have to be aggressive or nasty. You just need to see it for what it is and call it. All right, so we have the Two of Wands coming through. So I feel like the Nine of Cups smack bang in the middle of the reading with the Knight of Cups, the Page of Cups with the Chariot and the High Priestess. That is really nice energy. The Nine of Cups is beautiful because it tells me you're going to achieve something. The High Priestess is right at the top of the reading here. And for me, the High Priestess is really about trusting who you are, trusting your intuition, trusting what's going on. You know, you have people around that when you call them on something, they'll plead ignorant or they will gaslight. Gaslighting is my favorite thing. A lot of people do that. It's just a fairly common thing for people to do. But a lot of the time with gaslighting, it means that the person you're dealing with is not taking responsibility for what's happening, because in their mind, in their mindset, they are doing what they think's right for them. So they're not really caring about other people. Why do some people become so self-focused that they're willing to hurt others in their process? I don't understand why, because very often they expect a lot in return. So I feel like here, whatever this is for you, it is about you creating peace within yourself, but it's also, there's so much forward movement in this reading. So it's really about stepping forward, being comfortable with who you are, being really comfortable with decisions that you have to make, especially if you're finding that you're repeating some sort of pattern. seeing the pattern for what it is, but understanding there is something within you that needs to be attended to, even if it's that you don't have the confidence or the self-esteem to stand up to something. And maybe standing up to something is not the only answer. Maybe walking away from it is. But whatever you choose to do, be comfortable in your decision and do what you need to do for you. But something here is coming to the forefront. You're understanding a pattern. And I love that you have the Queen, because it's about sitting back in your own energy and going, hang on a moment, this is happening too many times now. How do I need to work it out? How do I need to understand how to put this right? Because there are always going to be people who don't like you, people who treat you badly, even the people that stand there and tell you that they love you. They're always going to treat you that way. And it really is quite interesting how it can be the next person you meet when you've already walked away from somebody like that. But let's face it, you can end up being completely on your own and really not having anything to do with anybody. But that's not fair to you either. So I feel like here there is a real energy of really stepping back, changing how you see your world, changing how you see the people in it. Just because people tell you they love you doesn't mean they do. They may say it because that is what is expected of them. And if they want to look good to everybody around them, they will say it to make themselves look good. But at the end of the day, there seems to be something being offered to you here from the universe that's making you understand how to stand in a different energy to bring about a different result. All right, let's just, for some of you, this may be a romantic relationship. For others of you, I feel like it's just general partnerships, general people. All right, pulled out the Mystical Shaman Oracle here. This is one of my favorite ever decks. I remember where I bought it, when I fell in love with it and everything. It's quite amazing. Let's have a look. So we've got the card of the staff coming out there, which is a giraffe's head. So let's have a look. It's card 51 for those of you who work with numbers. And I went almost straight to it. The staff is a symbol of authority. It holds the power to temper extremes. The staff helps you find the right course of action, the way of the middle, and aids you to maintain your balance after you begin walking in that direction. Moses carried a serpent staff through the desert, and with it he could summon the power of nature to heal or call plagues. The staff reminds you of the impermanence of all things, and that your authority must come from your deep longing. So, I'm going to read a little bit more of this one. I've probably gone over on time, but the medicine here is really important, I feel. It says you are caught in the delicate balance between opposing forces, between masculine and feminine, between action and non-action. Use this to your advantage, as there's no day without night, no low without high, no wrong without right. This is the time to take corrective action, beginning with your beliefs about what needs to be fixed or repaired. Let destiny take its course, nudging it slightly along. So I feel like this is right where you are at the moment. And if you're not in this energy, something's about to come up to show you that you need to attend to something that perhaps is not serving you in the right way. All right. Thank you very much.